Hello and welcome to CACHE, the portable professional development podcast from CACHE. You can always find us on the CACHE Alumni website, but right now we're catching up with Faye from Kerrie's Cherubs, which is in early years nursery in Blyth in Northumberland. Faye, can you tell everybody what your name and your job is here at Kerrie's Cherubs?
Yeah, I'm Faye Oram and I'm Deputy Manager here at Kerrie's Cherubs.
Excellent, thank you. So what is it that made you get into childcare in the first place?
When I was younger, my dad lived in Ireland and his wife in Ireland had a creche on the side of my house. So I was always really interested in childcare, but then when I went to do my level 3, there wasn't an apprenticeship available at the time, so I decided that I would go to college instead of doing the apprenticeship route. I was in college for 2 weeks and the training provider that I'd done my level 2 with rang us and had said, oh, there's an amazing opportunity for an apprenticeship. It's kind of yours if you want it, or it's in Alnwick. Now I live in Blyth and obviously I was too young to drive, but I was that passionate and I wanted to do it. I got up every morning and I got the bus to Alnwick 5 days a week.
Wow.
I did that every day until I'd qualified at level 3, which was a year. Then after that I found a position closer to home, then fell pregnant with my little boy, so continued to work there. I went back after maternity leave, but after maternity leave it just didn't suit my needs anymore, and then I applied for the position where I am now, just as a normal level 3 practitioner. Was successful and got that job. Then I went on to have my little girl. Then after returning from maternity leave with my little girl, I was promoted to team leader. Then the deputy at the time went off on her maternity leave and I was promoted to deputy and still am in that position. And whilst doing all of that and being pregnant and having 2 little ones, I did my foundation degree and then my BA honours as well.
How did you have time to do that as well as doing what's essentially like a full-time job and an all-encompassing job?
But I did it. So,
wow.
Yeah, so now I'm level 6 qualified.
Well done, that's amazing.
Yeah, quite a journey when you think of it like that.
It really is, yeah. Aren't you, Mint? So I know that the reason that I've ended up here today is that you've been really good at looking at staff wellbeing and looking at everybody else who works in the nursery, which, listening to your story as to how you ended up working here in the first place, obviously you went from doing some really long days for quite a long time, to having what sounds like a normal length day but then loads of extra things to make it a really long day. Where did the focus on staff wellbeing come from?
I think right from starting within where I am now, the passion from the manager and the nursery had always been that it was very staff focused, and you know, the flexibility for working families, and if staff came and needed specific days off when Kerrie would be doing the rota, she would always try her hardest to accommodate them. Then we started attending a network meeting within Northumberland for practitioners at level 6 stayers, and one night a gentleman called Stephen Chater came along and talked about the Better Health at Work award, which instantly myself and Kerrie knew that was a journey that we were ready to take on. So 9 o'clock the next morning we emailed him and said, you know, this is something we want to do, we're really passionate about it. So he came out, explained the award and trained me, Kerrie and another 2 girls as health advocates, and the journey just kind of started from there, and it's just got bigger and bigger, and it's just little things that you don't really think about that you're doing all the time for staff wellbeing, and just implementing little things that might not mean a lot to some people, but some people it makes their day.
Yeah, because you've pieced together something that within the sector is fairly special. I know like one of the concerns a lot of people have in terms of working in early years is that it's really full on. You've got to bring your whole self to work every day, and you can't not be on. You have to be on all the time, so it can be really draining. It sounds as though you have always had quite a good environment for staff.
Yeah.
What is it that the award's done to help you focus on that more?
I think for us it's made realise how much we do for the staff, and and even just down to making the staff more aware of the benefits that we have in place for them. And it's just made we look as a whole. So we've implemented some new policies because of the Health at Work Award. So we now have a mental health at work policy, we have a stress management policy, and we have a suicide awareness policy, which we would never have put in place had it not been for the ward. But we felt like that gap was there and we needed them in place, and since doing that, staff have been a lot more open about issues that are going on in their own lives. And although we always had an open door policy, I think they feel now that that's in place, that they can come more freely to talk about things, which obviously has a massive impact on their well-being.
Yeah, so is it more that you've encouraged rather than just enabled that to happen? So
Yeah. So as part of our supervisions now, we've changed our supervision and our appraisal records, and they both include mental health and well-being. And there's just a box, they can leave it blank, they could write something in, but it just enables us to start that discussion. And sometimes they say, oh no, I'm totally fine. Sometimes it leads to, well, we can support you this way and this way.
That's great. So does that mean that you've been able to find out about things that you probably wouldn't have known were issues beforehand?
Yeah. And staff members who would never have come and spoke to us, they would maybe have spoke to girls in the room who they have a closer relationship with, but would never have come and sought me or Kerrie out to disclose, if you'd like to say, how they're feeling or something like that. That now happens a lot more.
That's great. And what does that mean? That is there something that continues on from that? So
yeah, so it just, I think for us, it just, they know that we're there. So, you know, whether it's supporting them to attend a doctor's appointment or just checking in on them, how are you, how's it been, and just following that through. So making sure that if the doctor's given them any advice, they've acted on that, and how we can support that within the workplace. So it might be that they don't want to go on the sick, but they'd just like a few less hours, and we'll accommodate that as best possible that we can.
That's brilliant. Some of the stuff that you put in place that you talked about in the presentation that you did at the best practice sharing where I met you sounded really exciting, and I was really surprised by how simple some of the interventions that you've made are, but that you could see had made such a massive difference.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you've done that maybe was received better than you expected it to be, or that
Yeah. For me, one of the highlights of the things that were implemented was definitely the wellbeing cup. So this is just a mug, that's just a plain mug that we bought at Asda, has the letter K on, and it has a little tag on saying you've been mugged, you've done something special this week to make me smile or appreciate it. And that goes around, so it doesn't come from management, it goes around the girls and they pass it on each week to who they feel they want to give it to. It could be for anything. It could be, oh, there you go, you helped me out with some paperwork last week, I really want to say thanks for that, so you have the mug this week. It could be, oh, you look a bit down this week and I just want to make you smile, so there's the mug. And it just, it's so nice because it's staff appreciating staff, which you don't often see a lot of. It's kind of, you get the passing off thanks, but it just means it's a little bit more, and the girls really thrive on receiving that, and they really thrive on who they're going to give it to next.
That's exciting. And do you think that's helped people to look at their own well-being and to be a little bit more aware of the impact that they have on the people around them?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's also because obviously we're in a nursery, we have 3 different rooms, so different staff members are based within the different rooms. So sometimes I don't have a lot of contact with other staff, whereas I feel like it's started new relationships between different staff who probably wouldn't have in the past had that conversation.
That's really nice. So do you think that relationship building has generally helped sort of well-being?
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Definitely.
And as well as the gratitude mug, I remember there being a gratitude tree.
There is.
What's the gratitude tree all about?
So we implemented the gratitude tree at the last parents' evening that we had, and what we felt like was, you know, parents are so thankful for the jobs that we do on a daily basis, and they're always saying thanks and things like that, but sometimes it's not always to the same staff, So we decided that we're going to implement the gratitude tree so that the parents could write a comment and tie it on the tree, and it was there all the time, and staff could read it kind of every day, and it's in the entrance as you come in. So the first thing I see every morning when I open is the tree, and it makes us smile, and I think, oh, there's that lovely tree. So there's a little pile of tags so parents can continuously add to it all of the time. I think sometimes you write things better than you say things, so there were so many lovely comments, but that maybe would never have been said verbally to somebody, but written on the card they were.
It's a bit less awkward as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of that giving verbal feedback or saying, oh thanks, I really like that, is something that's really hard, whereas it's a bit less intimidating if you can write it down and leave it for somebody to find.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I mean, in terms of that parental engagement, is that something that you do any other ways? Is parent involvement a big thing, or is this sort of a step to involving parents more?
Well, we do try very hard with parental engagement. Sometimes it can be difficult. We have a lot of working parents who, you know, would struggle to come in for sort of a play and stay session or something like that. But we've done it where we've done kind of occupations for the week, and the parents who have specific occupations. So I remember a chef came in and he made pizzas with the group of children, and we'll have people will ask the parents to come in and read stories to a group of children as well. So we do try really hard on our parental engagement. We really push parents' evenings so that they come along, so they're aware of the transition process and what's happening next for the child and where they're going and things like that. But I feel like we do have really good bonds with all of our families, and you know, they all know where we are and who they can talk to and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very much like you have a very nice culture of just being nice to each other, which is lovely. Do you think the gratitude tree helps parents who are those working parents and who don't get to come to stuff to feel a little bit more part of stuff? And
we do parents' evenings on a night time after work, so that for the working parents they are able to attend them. But yeah, it's always there and they can add to it at any time.
And I know you said that you've seen a difference in terms of people opening up and talking about things, but have you seen a difference in how people are feeling and the general well-being of the setting?
I think the general overall staff morale is definitely a lot higher since implementing little things, and you know, just knowing that if they're struggling or if they need some help with something, come and talk to us straight away. Don't let it kind of build up and up and up so that you explode and you think, oh no, and they have a breakdown. If you tell we're at the very early stages, we'll do all that we can to kind of help out and ensure that doesn't happen.
That sounds sort of, I think that's a big thing within caring roles in general, is that the people that you want to work in roles where you have to look after somebody else are people who put other people's needs before their own. Mm-hmm. But in terms of well-being and longevity and that sort of boiling point, then actually sometimes people who work in jobs where you've got to look after other people are guilty of a bit of martyrdom and sort of, oh well, I can't do that now because I've got these things to do. Do you think you've managed to change that a little bit here?
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, all the staff care for the children, you know, 100% all of the time, and sometimes it might just be they come and say, oh, can I just have a cup of tea in 5 minutes, is that alright, and you know, we'll let them, and then it might be that chat leads to, oh well, actually we're going to put this support in place where we could help you by doing this, we can support you this way. So yeah.
Do you think that the team have a better understanding of why well-being is important when you have to bring everything that you've got to work? Definitely now. Maybe it's not in the past, but now that we've implemented all these new things and we'll have such a positive focus on well-being, I feel like they definitely do. That's great. So what have you got, any plans for what you want to do in future to take this elsewhere?
The possibilities are endless. So we've just completed silver. We've just completed our silver award and submitted that. But I think regardless, wellbeing will always be a passion that we'll have. and we'll always be implementing new things and promoting new things. So just last week we were talking about implementing a wellbeing basket in the staff room, so that just has general things in like deodorant and face wipes and paracetamol and things like that the girls can just get, and boys, because we do have a male member of staff.
I was going to say, you've mentioned girls a couple of times, but as I was coming in, there was a male member of staff.
We do, leaving. So there will be some male deodorant in that basket as well, and just the little things, you know, that if they forgot to put it on in the morning, they don't have to be embarrassed and say, someone got any deodorant because I haven't put it on today. It's there and they can just take it and use it.
Yeah. How has that worked with the kids? Your customers are here all the time, so how is your staff wellbeing focus impacted on that customer group?
So a massive thing that we implemented was we now do yoga on a daily basis, morning and afternoon. Do it just before meal times, because what we found was meal times were kind of getting a little bit rowdy and the kids were all up behind because they'd just been outside and they were dead excited and things like that. So we decided, what can we put in place to bring them levels back down? So before meal times, across all the rooms we'll have a yoga session. So turn the lights down, put really relaxing music on, and the children take part in different yoga moves that are also done with the staff. So the staff and the children are doing it together. Some of the children don't do the moves, but now because it's embedded within our culture, they're aware that that is the relaxing time, so they will just sit or they will just lie, and they know that that is calm time, and that has made such a positive impact on meal times, because now they're so much calmer. It's crazy how different it is.
That's great. And do you think that that's something that you'll continue in terms of those children and yoga as a common activity whenever there's something sort of big happens, or something where you need to bring things back in? Is that a tool that they can use?
It's always there. So all the rooms have the CD players with the music, and sometimes just throughout the day, if the noise levels are too high, they just turn the music on a little bit, and that's kind of the sign that it might be a little bit too noisy, and they know that to bring the levels down. And it just, I can't really explain what it does, how it works, but it just changes the levels in the room completely.
That's great. And is that more positive than how things would have happened before in terms of...
Yeah, definitely. And now it's just part of our everyday routine and what we do.
That's brilliant. So that's a bit of practitioners and children doing
they do it together.
That's really nice. And do you think that that's had an impact on those children's wellbeing then as well, in terms of that lovely process of calming and something that they can use to calm themselves?
Sometimes it works really well with challenging behaviour. So if there's some challenging behaviour, sometimes if we take a child away from a situation and we just put the music on, they might just sit in, we'll do animal positions, so they might just sit in a turtle position until they're ready to calm down and deal with them emotions. So yeah.
That's brilliant, and that sounds much more positive than telling a child off or sort of sending them for time out. It's something for them.
And not all children respond. Not all children respond to time out and things like that. So we have to have other strategies in place to support that.
And has that been helpful with self-regulation and with kids being able to look after their own?
Yeah, and it allows them to calm down until they're ready. We have another thing called therapy. So there's boxes in the rooms, and the children know that is there. So if they can feel kind of that they may be about to do something that they shouldn't, they know they can just go and take the therapy off the shelf and pull it and stretch it and do what they like with it, just to bring them back down to that calm level.
That's really great, because there is that sort of disconnect, isn't there, between what is something's better for the group and something's better for that individual child, and they're all so different, and they all react so different to different situations, which is why I think outside the box for different strategies we're going to have in place. That's really nice. And I'm guessing that also then has that additional impact on staff wellbeing, so you've got that nice circle of calmer children, calmer staff.
It's definitely positive.
It sounds like it's really positive. Has there been any challenges with implementing it?
With the yoga?
With any of it?
In the beginning, sometimes, but it was, maybe he's done one day and then not the next. But actually now that we've highlighted the benefits so much, and now it's just part of the everyday routine, that just doesn't happen anymore. It just continues all the time, and that's what we do. I think some of the staff in the beginning maybe thought, why are we doing this? But then we sat down at a team meeting and we explained all the positive factors and what the children were getting out of it. And actually when the staff contributed to that, then they kind of said, yeah, you're right, it does bring them a lot calmer, and we got them to evaluate why we're doing it, which made them realise more why it was so positive.
That's great. And does that mean that the staff have gotten on board with suggesting other things and taking part in the planning?
Yeah, all the time. We quite often put out evaluations, or we'll make a lot of Google forms and just send them out with different questions on, just to get their feedback. When we do supervisions and appraisals, we'll often have a suggestion sheet on the table, and they're not allowed to leave until they've written on the sheet an idea that they can bring to the table, so that it's not just always me and Kerrie thinking, right, well, let's just implement this and see how it works. It's coming from the staff members as well, and that works really well.
Yeah, gratitude tree is a really nice way of sort of shaping parents' understanding and getting them to sort of say nice things back, which shows they have understood how big a job it is that you do. Is that something that you found here as well, that that you've got to take parents on a journey to understand how in-depth the job role is? I
think very much as part of our induction process, we do that with parents. So when they first come for that first ever look around, it's embedded in the conversations that we have, that staff don't just sit and play with children, that we observe their development, we track their development, we support them if there's any delays, and we make it very clear at that point that we do a lot of other things rather than just sitting playing with the children. And obviously we do that, and that is the key part of our job, is sitting and interacting with the children. But yeah, we definitely embed that staff members do other things, and it's quite nice when we do have parents' evenings and they come, and all the children have a file, so the parents are able to look through that, and they're always so shocked at how much is in the file. And they're always like, oh, this is amazing, like how much work goes into this. But that's just something that we've been passionate about in providing.
No, I mean, that sounds like a really good process. And is that something, in terms of embedding that straight away at that first ever meeting, is that something that you think that maybe more people should adopt in terms of setting those expectations and getting stuff to understand?
And I think maybe it's just the way that we talk about it when we're showing them around, and we're always saying then the key worker does this and is responsible for this and things like that. So, and I think it's more for them to know who they can go to as well. So we always would say that the key worker would be the first point of call. So if you had an issue, go to the key worker first, and then if it can't be dealt with, then management will deal with it. Or if you feel like you need to come straight to management, then that's totally fine. But yeah, I feel like we do a very good job at setting expectation of what they do, yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, everyone I've spoken to so far, everyone, like, when you talk about stuff, your eyes light up. Like you can feel the passion coming off you when you talk about it.
Yeah.
Is that something that sort of comes through in the way that you recruit? Do you look for a certain type of person? Is it
No, we're very open to who we recruit, and we're very much for giving chances. So we had a lady start with us 2 years ago who always had a passion for wanting to work with children, but had just never found the right moment to apply for a job, and was currently doing a degree in childcare at the time, and we took that leap of faith and offered her the job, and it was one of the best decisions we ever made. But we're very much for, it doesn't, we don't judge. It doesn't matter what kind of your background is. Obviously we follow safer recruitment, so they have to have a clean DBS, have to have appropriate references, but we're very much for giving people chances. So we like to have an apprentice to train up, just to give them that starting point and give them that learning opportunity.
And do you think that helps to keep everyone else as passion sort of firing, that you've always got someone who is new and excited and
Yeah, and I think, and obviously it's massively about that, you know, because it's massively about the training that we provide for staff. So we sign up to the County Council's training offer, so that they're constantly learning and it's constantly a new journey, because obviously times change, things could never stay the same all the time. We're about to make some massive changes in September that all the staff are very excited about, so we're going to go as paperless as we possibly can, which is crazy for a nursery, but we are. And we're massively changing our planning system for the children. We're going to go to in the moment planning, but we took all that from the staff and what they felt would work and what they felt didn't work. So they're always involved in the kind of decision making for things like that, and then we'll support them around that and deliver the training on it, and then hopefully it will flourish to be amazing.
It sounds amazing. And obviously I've come today and it's a lovely day outside, and everyone's outside having what looks like the most amazing time out in the back. Mm-hmm. Is that the sort of thing that in the moment planning is to help facilitate more on what the children want to do there and then? So not that a practitioner's put an activity out in the morning and said to them, right, you need to come and do that. In the moment planning will be very much based on the children's interests, what they're talking about there and then, and facilitating that learning through their needs and what they want to do. So is that bringing in a little bit more of the Montessori type sort of child-led learning stuff? Yeah.
Oh, it will be solely child-led.
That's really exciting, and there's a lot of stuff in the sector saying that really that's the way we should be going generally. Yeah. I think we've all had that bit where we'll look back at school and we'll go, oh, I wish they'd just let us do that, because that would have given us so much more for the future if they'd just let us do it.
I think it's all about problem solving and letting them trying to solve them challenges for themselves, and you know, if they're wanting to do an activity, or even just down to, you know, painting, they want pink paint. Well, how are we going to make that? How are we going to make that pink paint instead of giving them pink paint? You know, teaching them that you mix the colours and that changes and that's what happened, and letting them figure that out for themselves is massive.
Yeah, and I think kids learn more like that, don't they, if it's them making those connections.
Definitely.
Obviously you're looking at making those sorts of changes with the kids and the planning, and you've got loads of great stuff where it's an actual focus on staff wellbeing. How do you think the wellbeing stuff and the child stuff has sort of linked together? Do you think that it's just a different way of thinking, or the having staff being able to come more easily, has that helped with sort of general nursery queries as well, with people being able to ask things more freely? Or was that always something that was quite well embedded here?
Yeah, that was always something that was well embedded. You know, if they had a question, they would just come in and ask. I think it's more the well-being side now that it's like they have, I don't know, more trust in that. I think they know more how we can support them. So I completed a level 2 in mental health awareness, and from that I created a programme for the staff. So it was a 7-week programme on different mental health conditions, and I think now that they know that we have a better awareness of mental health and how it can affect people, they feel like they can come for that little bit of advice, whereas maybe beforehand we would have had to say, okay, we'll go away and have a look into it and then come back to you and see how is best to support you, whereas now we kind of know on the spot how we can help and support people.
Yeah, so staff know it's worth asking, because there will be help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really good. I mean, what's your favourite bit of all the stuff you've done? What's the thing that you like the most?
I don't know if I do have a favourite.
I mean, I can see how much you care about it. It's really nice.
I don't think I can pinpoint anything, because I think it's all, everything that we've implemented has had such a positive impact, but in a different way that I couldn't pinpoint one thing and say,
it's all one.
That is definitely my favourite. Yeah, that's just everything together in the journey that we've been on as a whole.
That's really nice.
Thank you very much for talking to us, and we'll speak to you again soon.
And thanks to you at home or on the go for joining us. Don't forget, if you've got some best practice or you'd like to share with us something great, you can get in touch with us at alumni@cache.org.uk. That's alumni, ALUMNI, @cache, CACHE.org.uk, and would love to speak to you. You can find us at the CACHE Alumni website at www.cachealumni.org.uk, or through the main CACHE website for information about qualifications and other CPD at www.cache.org.uk. Thanks very much, and until next time, take care.